Hey party people, welcome back to Solo Chat. And man, I've been gone for a little bit. Sorry about that. I had some extra work I needed to do. Plus you see me doing some more content on the channel, trying to make sure I mix it in a little bit. There's some sponsored ones and then there's non-sponsored ones. We want to make sure I'm balancing what I'm saying on the channel because I want to make sure you know my opinions on these games. Of course, sponsor stuff, you got to leave that stuff out. And now we are at a point where I'm trying to cover the games that we've been talking about on the channel and showing you my impressions and also giving these some scores so you can kind of know what I'm rocking with, positive and negative for these titles. Especially because we had this, I don't know if you watched the chit chat, I think it's 128, where we had this kind of impromptu tournament and we were like talking about games and it sounded like a hype machine, but it was because we were excited coming off Essen. Some of the games the other team had played, but I didn't have access to those games. I don't live in Indy, so I went to Essen and bought some of those games, some of the games I was excited about, and I had just arrived home, so I didn't even know, I was just like, I want to play this game a lot. Why is this interesting? And we just kind of went back and forth, and we did a really good job of eliminating David's titles. But that's neither here nor there. What is Solo Chat about? It is about solo and cooperative games. That can be true solo, two-handed, three-handed, four-handed, or just a straight by design cooperative game with other options. And we'll talk about all those topics around that, but we'll also review some games. I may have an overview of a game. I may have two reviews, one big review, one big review. It just depends on what it is. We give those things scored, and then we have topics around what's going on. Sometimes they may have a specific theme to the moment, but I generally try to stay away from Kickstarter games. I try to stick with games that are available, unless there's something that I really want to show you and tell you about. Maybe you're sleeping on a little bit, but we try to keep it away from that, and specifically things that have been sponsored on the channel. I want to keep my opinions in this show and strictly stay away from the sponsor stuff if I can prevent it, and I can prevent it because I control this. I control this content. All right, so today's two games we're going to give quick reviews of this Evenfall and this game that I happen to have backwards as I roll it in, and that is Djinn. These are two games that we actually had on our Essen tourney bracket thing and I want to share my opinion with both of them. Let's do it. We're going to start with Evenfall. What did I think about it? Let's find out. All right, so we're going to be talking about Evenfall. This is the first game that I pre-ordered at Essen. It is a 1 to 4 player game. I played it at 1, 3, and 4, and yeah, it's about 60 minutes. If you're playing 3-4 players, of course, it's going to take like an hour 15, maybe an hour and a half. You got a bunch of AP players. And I played this one mostly one player, so I can give you an idea how it plays. But it's got this witch theme, okay? So I was excited about that because the art is absolutely gorgeous. We can spoil that part of the review. It's nice. It's got this dark theme. Just gives you that kind of look. But yeah, other than the art, it doesn't really say, ooh, witches. It just tells you like inner circle, outer circle stuff, but I'll get to that in my review. So yeah, we're just going to dig into this and I'll tell you my opinion on it. So let's just go ahead and go about it. All right. So you are competing covens trying to score the most points. Of course, you're trying to beat the AI in this game that's also trying to score points. What you do with your coven is you're trying to place places of power, and use your worker placement to get those places of power, and then add rituals to them, which are cards in the game. Those cards could be specialists that go on the side and give you, different different amplifying your actions and just kind of powers during the game. And then you have your places of power, which you'll get from the middle of the board, and then you also have your council members, which are also a way of using cards. So I'm just going to kind of go through a turn just to give you a turn or two just so you understand what's going on. I got some unlimited resources here. Don't worry about it. We're just going to play through it here. So get to the board. What you're looking at is your faction over here. There's a based faction, and then there's also one with this asymmetric powers. I'm just going to have this one on here. And then you have your AI board over here. It's very, very easy AI to control. In the middle, we have our different locations. In a multiplayer game, depending on player count, 1 to 3 players, you only have 2 locations. In a 1 to 4 player, you have 3 of these locations. And these are places of power. Those are some of the things you're trying to get. And the reason why you're trying to get them is because you want to have places places of power here and slide them down here so you can score them. This is your outer circle and this is your inner circle. So what you'll be doing is you'll be on your turn maybe placing workers on here to get cards, to pay for cards, to bring them over on your turn. So that's one of the things you can do on your turn. You may also have cards in your hand. You may have cards in your hand that you'll play resources for, and you'll have specialists. Specialists give you abilities with those cards. Like this one says, reduce the cost of action spaces by 1 resource. So if you're paying for resources, it's cheaper. You also have spots on the board which you can play for actions. So there's one here and there's one here. We'll talk about what some of those do, but this one right here says, hey, you can discard one of your cards to get more resources. This one here says you can get more cards, and then this one here says you can get 2 cards, and then you can also slide this down, and that's what you want. You want these cards to be down here because the cards you attach to them, which are called rituals, and I'm going to go ahead and throw one on here. There's a little combo to it. When you play this on top of here, it may give you a benefit, and it will help you as you take this action to slide down here. But there's a couple other things you can do while you're up here with this. You can harvest this stuff. So if I have, let's say, multiple ones of these, and you're going to have space for all this stuff. I'm just doing it because I want to be tight on space. And what you're doing is you call this thing here where you flip it over. That's your action. You flip it over, get those resources, and then you get the little resources here. So that can be mana. I'll show you what that's used for. And then you can get some of these little lab potion things right here. So they have potions, they have like roots, they have knowledge books. You also can add, you can spend these to buy cards, of course, but you also can get these little power things that help you go up your track here, this coven track, which will give you points, card movement, things of that nature. And then you also have the ability to put on these harvest tokens, these kind of things like that, which doubles the effect of this harvest. It's one of the other things you can do. You also can have cards that instead of playing them as specialists, you can add them as council members, and they will give you things during the game. Like this one says, each time you gain points from the coven track, you gain three points. So it's a nice little scoring combo in the game. But ultimately what you're trying to do is find ways to bring these cards down. So when you bring them down, when we get to the end of the game, we'll score this amount of points. And if we have one of these things on here that match, and I'll kind of cover that in a little bit, but if we have what matches on here, so for example, if I have this right here, not only will I get these points, I'll double the points on here. And that's kind of what you're doing on your turn. You're kind of trying to build that up. You're just trying to build a tableau. There's even points where you don't use these workers. You can use these workers kind of everywhere because you want to have more workers on these spots. I'll put one there. But you also want to be able to use your elders, which can only be down here at the bottom. So there's a little bit of strategy of creating more worker placement spots, because these will be used simply to get to pay for these cards, which gets through your 4 workers really quick. So you're trying to find ways to attach cards to rituals and ones that actually have worker placement spots on them, so that as the game moves along, you have more places to place things, and also using up to 8 workers. So that's kind of where you want to be. You want to have enough cards on here that will help you with conversions, but you also want to have cards over here so you start to score them. And it may seem like not much is going on, but there is once we get to the battle phase. But first I want to show you what the AI does. The AI's turns are really quick. They have their own version of the coven track, but they also have this action wheel here, and they have four gnomes, or 4 witches. Why am I saying gnomes? There's no witches. This game is about witches, okay? So what you do on their turn is just flip a card for them. And then you're looking at the points, and the point is 1, you move it on the track, and it says up the coven track. I move it up the coven track, tells me to take one of these cards. What they do is they accumulate these cards over here, and there are different advantages for them to have them, but they accumulate places of power very quickly without paying resources. they will go through the locations here. When they go through the locations, they're going to try to find a card. They're just going to grab a card from left to right. So this one says Northern Lakes. They'll take that card and put it over there. As you can see, they're starting to get these cards over here really fast, and they do that very fast. But then you can also play the top card. So they may play the top card. That top card could be a ritual. If it's a ritual, they just attach it to it like so. So they have ways of getting things really fast, and they can, you know, score points based on difficulty. So for example, this one here, if you're on the Coven track, you get to the bottom, it has to stop. It'll say you get points according to what level you choose. So if it's a certain level, you get 3 points automatically. When they harvest, they don't really collect anything. They just score points. Okay, so they just literally just score points, so they can get ahead of you pretty quickly as well. So they put pressure on you during the game. And I will admit, when you're playing this game, you're not going to fill your ramp up until a little bit later. So you got to start building that engine. Meanwhile, the AI is scoring points pretty quickly. You can see how it's building up. We're going to talk about how that's a little wacky, a little clunky. As you play a couple games, you'll start to see it kind of come apart a little bit. But that's what they're going to do, and they're going to be buying these places of power. So I should have done this. They put one here, and let's just put one. We'll just put more here, and then we'll put one down here, and we'll just kind of play that out. Let's just say this is out. We're going to do that. And they try to get these cards down here. When they flip a card, they just put it over here. So if they get one of these specialists, they just put it over here. They get another one. Like they are really just grabbing stuff super fast, building up this tableau. They're trying to get cards that score points down here faster, so they can have more cards. So maybe you want to pay attention to how you're building these consoles because you want to have more points at the end of the game. I think that's enough for that. So now we get to this battle phase. So we did the scout where we get resources at the beginning of each round. You get more cards, you get more mana, you get all that stuff. But then you have your action phase, and then you have your battle. And battle is, you know, just basically how much do you got, okay? So you have this mana track here. You can spend that much mana, okay? So you can spend mana plus your presence on here with your pieces. And the AI does something similar, except in the multiplayer game, you actually like decide how much you want to spend. So I say 3 out of that. I go down to 1. So I have my 3 plus 1, 2, 3. That's 6. And then that's my number. The AI will go, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, plus the round, 3, and then it'll flip a card, and that card will be 6. So it adds these things up. So you basically what's going to happen is you're going to be looking to the right side here, and it doesn't stop you from doing anything. All you're really trying to do is win these pieces right here. These, I think they're called power stones. I can't remember what they're called, but you are going to look at your power strength, and you're going to get those benefits for however you are. So if I had 6, I'm going to get 3 victory points and a card. Okay, so like that's how this works in a multiplayer game. That's where the rewards come from, because so people are going to be targeting certain locations that are worth more points, or to help them go up their Coven track. So it's not, nobody's stopping you from, you know, dedicating up to 8 power here, so that you can move one of these cards down. You can get 3 points and a card. You can get 5 points, move up your Coven track, and get a resource. So you're trying to add these things, but also if you win and you beat the AI out, you get to choose one of these pieces here. So you get one of these pieces, and that's where I was talking about before. If you add these to it, and you can do it at the end of the game, you get double the points for this card. So now that I have the icon that matches on there, I get those points. That's really it. The AI, the numbers increase in difficulty, or as the rounds go on, you get more. They get more points added. So 2 points, 3 points in the third round, plus whatever they have, plus a card, whatever they flip. So you just keep adding that stuff up. They get points. They get points similar to how you get points. I don't want to go too deep into that. But what do I think? I'm pretty disappointed in this game, and I thought about the topic, and I was thinking about this game, because I like tableau builders, and I think what's happening is I think I like too many, and I'm being a little bit too vulnerable to you know, to the tableau building games. And I was trying to find something that was really exciting about this game. And it was like, even for tableau builders, like I like more excitement, you know, I like more excitement. I like more points being in front of me. This one doesn't do it as well, although it does reward really good card play. I do say that. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like nobody will feel like I do. I don't feel like I'm in the same vein as everybody else. But I'm also saying this because I don't think I think some people are a little too forgiving with tableau builders because they give you so much in like engine building. But the abilities on this, I'll just kind of start with this. The abilities for these factions are really interesting. There are some that like have extra places for these stones of power. You got ones that help you go up the coven track really fast. One with the extra worker placement spot so you can go up the coven track really fast. So those are interesting enough. And if you are into this game, maybe you're waiting for an expansion so you get more of those types of things. Totally understand. The AI is very quick. As a matter of fact, it's so quick, it almost makes you, it almost woos you in because, of course, we have so many AIs that take so many things to do. I get it. But we're going to talk about that when we get to the bad. But generally, this game is really easy to pick up. Low rules. Rules are easy to interpret. The cards actually kind of tell you what to do and when to do it. I mean, you're earning more worker placement spots if you play it right. So it all makes sense. But then there's certain things that I don't like about this game. I never felt excited or too pleased with the combos that I built. And I've watched other people play the game and I didn't see necessarily anything too exciting. The scores were really massively apart, and I think that just comes with the skill with the tableau. But for solo, you're playing against this AI, and here's the tricky part with this AI. It's luck. You're flipping a card. Okay, so if it's flipping a 3-point card, it's going to skip 3 spots. So let's say I'm right here. I go 1, 2, 3. It's go as far as this here. I believe there's 4-point cards in here. But if it gets to that 4-point card, it's going to flip. It's going to miss all these locations. Okay, so if it misses all these locations, you got a problem here. It's not really being competitive because it's not going to have places of power. And that's what could happen. It may not generate enough places of power to keep up with you, and it doesn't feel as challenging. Now you can balance that with having this coven track be worth more points. You can balance that by having it so it's more harvest. They kind of balance that by giving this, each round they get more strength for the places of power according to the round. That helps out a little bit. But I found that the AI is just kind of like, it's just not competitive, honestly. You get better pretty quickly in this game. I had my lowest score. I had my lower score last game and I was pretty disappointed, but I was paying attention so much to what everybody else was doing. But every time I play solo, I kind of crush the AI, and I worry about that because I'm not like the best and most efficient player. And other than this game, this AI being quick, it's just too lucky. I don't need to know everything, but this kind of randomness would just flip a card and go. I don't know if I necessarily like that. I don't know if I necessarily like that. I have no problem with the coven track. That's not an issue. Also, if you don't know how to lean into your factions, maybe you just want to play the regular game, and I found the regular game like a little too not as interesting. I think you should go for the player power side. It's just that I liked 2 of the factions, and the other ones I just thought they're all right. They were okay, but that's kind of half the box, right? The characters, half the box. The AI is what I was looking for in this game. Quick, but not necessarily, it's just too lucky for my tastes. So with that being said, how do I feel about the game finally? To be quite honest with you, I was really, really let down by this one. I was excited, paid full MSRP, and I kind of feel a little bit by this one. It's not going to stay in my collection. I think people are going to like this more than I do, but I'm going to give this one a 6. It's just an okay game. I think this will be better suited in someone else's collection than mine. Although beautiful, decent quality. Although I did have a couple scuffs on my boards there. Could have been me, could have been the material. But yeah, that's Evenfall. Let's go ahead and get to Djinn. One of my other very, very hype games, excited games when I was coming home from Messin. Let's see what I think. All right, part 2, we have Djinn. This is by Pegasus Spiel Games, and boy, was I excited about this one when I came back from Essen, because the demo that I saw was really good. It was really tight, and the guy was really good, like very, very tight at explaining the game. It was like day 3 of a con, and you know how if you go to a convention, that's a thing. So it's like if you're looking for someone to tell you how to play the game on Thursday, they're like stumbling, holding the rule book. By Saturday, it's like they know how to explain the entire game, the highlights, and that's exactly what I got. So I was really interested. Played full MSRP for this one. It was 60 euros. So I was, you know, forking out the cash there. Money was flying, and I picked this one up. I think it was 50. I don't remember. Take a look. So what are you doing in this game? You are basically trying to go around to these different spots. You have your square spot, your circle spots, and you're trying to go around and catch these djinns. You're trying to gain magical power, find assistance, do all kinds of different things, collect cards that you need to become more powerful, to catch these djinns or flee away before the AI deck runs out. The AI is just a card deck. You flip it over, you take one action, you move on. That's really it. So I'm just going to show you what the game does, and we'll talk about how it plays out and my final score. So let's go ahead and get to it here. So you have the board of Djinn here. One thing you need to know is that it does have a variable setup, a randomized setup, because these pieces do pop out, the circle and the square pieces that are placed in here. So it'll be random every game, and I think that's a good selling point for the game. You'll also have the randomness of these djinns. These are the master djinns and these are the regular djinns. There's 4 different colors. So they'll come out randomly as well, and then you'll have more djinns than normal for the circles that attach to the middle there. This one does not attach to the middle, so therefore it would not have one. All right, so I'm sure the setup in here is not perfect. It's okay, but you're going to see these different spaces around the board, and you have your player board. Ultimately, you're going to have these portals which you're trying to put djinns in, and you can unlock more spaces. You're trying to gain more power, and you can extend that power so you can do more things and also interact in these places of power. You want to bump up your ability to hold more power between turns and things of that nature. And then you have just a bunch of different resources. You can even add pieces here to unlock multiple actions at the same place. So this is one of those cool little things that you can do in addition to and start to expand yourself so you're taking more turns. But you don't have forever to do this. So let's go ahead and just take a look at some of the possible things we can do. I'm gonna give myself some power for free. That sounds fun, right? Okay, so you're gonna start out on one of these square spaces, and in the multiplayer game, it's really important how you place yourself, because you're gonna start at a square, take this action, and then the next turn you're going to move to one of these circles, and in the circle spots where there are circles, you'll notice that there are djinns there that you're going to address. So I'm just going to take you on a tour around the board and show you how you gain some of these things. So for example, I'm at the square version of this, so the square diamond version of this. So I'll get a scroll. It's a weaker version, and then I'll move up 3 power. So let's just say I had that 3 power already, and I move up to the top. Now if I was at the circle version, I would have to fight the djinns there, but I could still take my action. So for example here, I can move my power up 1. First of all, it gives me more power, and then I get a scroll, but I also get to move up 3. So it's like you want those kind of combos, and as you can see sometimes by that randomized layout, it's like some situations kind of lend themselves to kind of getting to where you want to go really fast. But that's basically your turn. A couple other things that you can do is you can do the archives here, which allows you to do different actions. As you can see, you can place one of these things here. You place it over here. You can get money. You can get scrolls. Scrolls are used to, basically in a multiplayer game, they're used for when you meet up at certain spots where you're kind of on each other's route together and you meet up. You have to pay a scroll or some money. But typically, once you get all these guys out on the board, you're going to take this piece off and put it here, and you're going to get the cooler version of these, that kind of stuff. And then you have these assistants. These assistants will help you with the djinns. They kind of get added to your area here, so I'm just going to grab a couple of these. But there's also ones that give you keys. So the keys are used for the different resources in the game, but also when you get these chests, so this chest action is here, that's this one here, you can get this, but if you have one, you just happen to have one with a key that comes up, you would use that key, and then you would also get the key part right here. So that's just a cool little thing here. I actually think that's really cool. It's like kind of like extra Don't know why it's there, but it's like, oh, that's actually kind of juicy. All right, so because when you do the powered up version, you got 2. So let's say I get 2, and then I can spin, I can spin a key on these things, and I have a choice. This is also a place where you get some really interesting things. So this card is like a panorama, right? But these cards give you, they give you different abilities. You also want to have these because they kind of give you a little bit of, kind of an extra flavor to what you're doing here. So, for example, now I have a whole bunch of different things here. So for one time, I can pay 2 scrolls and get 2 bottle tops. And that's what you want. You want to have these bottles over here in your possession of these types here. You get them from the market. You're going to the market here. The market is, where you at? The market's over here. Well, you can't have that there. You can have this here. All right, so you can have that there. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to start just kind of accumulating things. But what you want to do is to be able to put these djinns inside of these bottles so that you can score points for having the ones that belong to certain ones. Master djinns can be anything. But how do you fight djinns? You're like, dude, you're explaining all this djinn stuff, where stuff is coming from. Could you please tell me how to fight these guys? I got you, okay? So as you move, like I said, you're going to be moving to the square spots, but then when you get to these circle spots and you're on your route, you're going to have to fight these djinns. And they're worth magical power. So you have your djinns that are 4, but then you also have your master djinn, which is 4 plus 2 plus 2. So you have to have, for every other little djinn here, they're going to add 2 power to it. So you want to take these guys out, but if you take these guys out and they're left alone, they flee away. And that's one of the ways you can get through the game fast as well in the multiplayer. But you can also take out the djinn, and when the djinn leaves, they take a guy with them. So you have little ways to kind of organize yourself. But typically you want to get these djinns because they're going to help you score points in the game. And you also can use it as a strategy point to kind of help get the djinn out of there as fast as possible. Definitely still want to catch them. What does the AI do? It's very simple. What you do is you flip a card. Flip a card that says, hey, are there djinns at this one here? Yes, there are. Okay, boom. Turn. Okay. If it's not in if it's not there, if there are no master djinns there, then you go to the other one. If it's there, you go boom. If there's no djinns, then you just go on this stuff. But it's very, very easy. Okay, it's very easy. You got to pay stuff. So if you go through these cards, there are cards that say nothing. So you can take those out of the game. I just play it straight up. It's like you can have 12 to 15 cards, and really it's this one here that says you don't do anything on your turn. But that's really quick. And I should have said this, by the way. When you're trying to catch these djinns, a little strategy is to have these assistants, and you spin these cards, and if they match the colors, that gives you more power than you have, because you're going to have to spend power in order to defeat these djinns. So it's just a combination of those things. You also have some things that can help you out along the way here. So that's kind of your strategy of defeating the djinns. And that's really what you're up against. Flipping a card, does it have this? Yes or no. Move to the second one, yes or no. If both are gone, then you do this and you pay out. The other thing that you need to know is if you finish this before the djinn gets through its deck, you get 10 points for every single one that that's left in there. And then you also get points, of course, for your djinn here. But ultimately, I think the whole idea is to get through, beat it before you get to the deck. I think that's the game, really, in a nutshell. They also have these and this is so standard Eurofare, right? It's got, hey, these are your goals. So if you have goals, you check off the boxes and you're awesome. So that's kind of what's left of this. And that's Djinn in a nutshell. I don't want to go too deep into it. That's the gist of the game, okay? That's the gist of the game. What do I think about it? Well, stay tuned for my full review of this game, but I want to talk specifically about the solo. The solo is quick. It's very quick, right? Evaluate that. Yes, no, move on. Yes, no, move on. And like that turn is over. So you get back to your turns. Just like in Evenfall, I do like that concept. It's just, then it turns me back to, is the gameplay good enough? I find that this game is good. It's just not great. The thing is I'm not sure this game will stick around in my collection. It's like right on the fence. This is one of those types of games where I give a good score to, and you have to pick apart through my explanations and what you see in the mechanisms and decide for yourself, because what I'm going to tell you is I think this is good. I think it's solid. I don't feel like it's breaking any barriers or anything like that. It is pleasing to have these kind of like beautiful layouts as you add the stuff, but there are powers that you get that are positive and negative, and you don't do that in this one. You don't get character tiles. There's some scoring tiles that make the game more interesting. You don't get those. So it's like, you're not really playing the full game, and that's where I'm kind of like, because it gives the meat on the bone that you want. I mean, I guess maybe you can play with them anyway and just say whatever. But, you know, just kind of keeping it true to what it is. And, you know, it feels interesting to have different setups all the time. So I think that's something that you would, you know, kind of enjoy, knowing that you're not going to play the exact same game every time, but you're having the exact same experience. It's just that the randomization could lead to making things harder for you to get to routes, to get your power up, so you're strong enough to fight off these things. Then you have to worry about this deck, getting through the deck. And if you don't get through the deck for the right assistance, it's not going to really help you build an engine fast enough to do what you need to do as these gens get added to the, you know, to the bag, from the bag over and over again. It's not going to give you as much time. So it's not as forgiving as other Euros would be. It's going to put a lot of pressure on you. And you have to decide if you like that kind of stuff. I'm kind of on the fence with it. It's not that it's bad. It's just that certain ones work out for me. And this one was kind of like, yeah, but you know, that kind of thing. It's like it's so in between. You don't necessarily know what to say, but it's not bad. It's not bad. So what does that mean? You know, what does that mean? I think the game is solid for solo purchase. The thing is I'm like right between a 6 and a 7. There's not a particular bad thing about this game. It's just how exciting was it versus, you know, what I was excited about when I came home. Like if I auto 8, you know, mentally, I was like, man, this looks great. You know, like it's not going to be game of the year or whatever, but it looks great. I was most excited about this because I knew nothing coming in. I just happened to see it at Essen. I went in there, and the fact that it's a 7, and it's like, okay, 7, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't know if I might even go lower, but I don't want to do it injustice because it actually is a good game. It's a solid game. So I'm just going to stick with a 7. And I think with both of these games today, it's almost like you got to look at it and decide for yourself, because you may be like, dude, still, this is really freaking good. It looks really solid from what you were saying. Hey, go right on ahead. I think my view on things is really important, of course, to you, and I thank you for that. But I want you to be the best reviewer. You are the reviewer. You are the one that will decide whether these games are good for you or not. And hopefully I do a good job of talking about them so you can make informed purchases and not just rely on my score. A score is really just my own opinion, and everybody has one, right? So let's just dig into this and talk about it. I think I'm just going to kind of go around with this. Have you bought a game at a convention and you were excited about it going into the convention, or you just bought one right before Gen Con, you know, and you pre-ordered it and you heard about it and then you got it and you were like, dude, this one, I thought it was going to be better. What was that game? My dog is going absolutely nuts out there until somebody takes him out. Sorry. But what was that game? Tell us what that game is and tell us why. The most important part is, why was it a letdown? Not who let you down. It's more so, why did the game leave you down? And leave some points. It's important for people to know why that game let you down. Both of these games, according to how excited I was, they were both letdowns. They probably will not be in my collection. As a matter of fact, Evenfall won't be. And Djinn, as you can tell, I'm not as excited about it. And good games leave my collection all the time. This one will probably leave too eventually. I'll probably play it a couple more times because it is a solid solo mode, just not something I'm overly excited about. And that's what happens at conventions. Sometimes you're buying things without even thinking about it. Myself as a content creator, I don't just get all the review copies in the world. We do get a lot, but at the same time, I go out and buy a lot of games, and I go on them with research and even background knowledge. Maybe I even read the rule book, but there's nothing worse than even having all that knowledge and then getting the game, and once you play it, it just hits like a dud. Like, I actually demoed this game, so it's like I got to see it in motion and think, ooh, when I play it, I'm going to have a great time. And I had a okay time, but good time, right? And with Evenfall, it was just disappointing. I was just like, man, there's like nothing really exciting about this at all. So you have those two kind of like those things, but then you also have ones that maybe come out of nowhere, those hidden gems. And maybe you want to talk about those. Tell me what your hidden gem that really hit it off. I remember it was like 4 years ago, I think it was, 3-4 years ago. Search for Planet X was my hit. By the way, that Lost Species game that I did a preview for, better. Way better. Anyway, but I remember that Search for Planet X was one that I had, and I was just like, it was either around Gen Con or at Gen Con, and I was like, man, nobody's talking about this game. It is absolutely ridiculously awesome. But I think about those types of games, and you know, conventions, man, they're really tough. They're really tough because we cover games going in, and then you kind of are into those, right? You're looking at all the channels, and then they come back with their hauls, and you're really excited about those, so you kind of just hop on the bandwagon blindly. And, you know, results may vary, and that's why I tell people you are the best reviewer. You're the one that determines whether these games are good or not. We just inform you, and you have to decide if that's something you rock with or not. I mean, you do want people who are, you know, kind of in touch with the line of games that you like, but I often tell people, like, do that research, because these cons are a trap, man. I mean, they're right there, MSRP. You don't care. You're not waiting for the miniature market sale, right? So I think this is one of those things. This is one of my warnings. Once again, man, read those rule books, listen to more, you know, previews, overviews, reviews, early reviews, things of that nature before you start buying these convention level games. Because, man, it can bite you. Last year I bought 40-some Essen games. I think I only have I have 5. Let's just say I have 5. Those were gone. I had some major hauls go out. So that lets you know you can get stung by this. You can get stung by this. So watch it, man. Watch it with your money. Be responsible, right? Let's be responsible. Buy responsibly. Anyway, off podium, what did you think? Let me know what some of your responses in the comments below. What have you been bit by? What was a great, an awesome title that you bought maybe out of nowhere? You were like, dang, I didn't even know this game was going to be that good. Let me know. And also, thank you so much for watching the show. I really love doing the solo chat, and I love your feedback, and I respond to every comment if possible. I basically respond to every comment on the show. So go ahead and let me know what how you feel about the episode as well, how you feel about the content, maybe games that you want to hear about next from Essen that we were talking about on the list. I can't wait to talk about Evacuation. That's going to be talked about probably at the end of the year. But we got to play that a little bit more too. All right, folks, you take care. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on Solo Chat, and see you next time.